key. My laptop crashed, but back in the days, we didn't have any backup. Google didn't have any plan for that, so I lost that application. Very sad. I wish I could go back and actually remake it because it had so many fans. But other than that, what I can say is that the mobile journey has been great for me. And recently also, like I was telling my panelists here that I've been enjoying doing Kotlin coming from Java. So I've learned a lot that in our industry, it's all about learning. And if you're in for the learning, I think you'll go very far. So I hope I answered the question.
Kim?
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here talking with you today. Thank you, Sierra and the Women Who Code Mobile group for putting this on. This is awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of great stuff that just got listed off. So my experience, I came from a traditional CS path. I changed my major like 400 times before I ended up in programming, which was kind of a mistake because when I took my first programming class, I thought it was like a drag and drop kind of thing. I had no idea what I was doing. I got lost on my first day going into the classroom. It was like a whole thing. But I stuck with it, and eventually the teacher pulled me aside and said, you should consider doing this. You have a knack for it. And I was having fun, but I didn't really ever consider that a job. I still didn't understand what a programmer was, even though I was 4 months into this class. So long story short, I graduated my CS degree, and my first job was it was a mobile training position. So we did 3 months of training, and then depending on what team needed us, we were routed into that team. So I actually started in Android and then switched to iOS. I loved iOS more at the time. iOS had interface builder and Android was XML build. And being somebody who loves the front end development, I was immediately attracted to interface builder. So that's the route I took. I got hired out of college and never looked back. I'm now a senior iOS developer. I just celebrated 8 years in the industry. So I've been around for a while, and I look forward to answering all your questions.
Patrick.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. How did I get into mobile? You have to rewind about 20 years to 2001, and one of the first Palm devices came out, and I had just started college and thought I needed to keep myself organized. And I'm sitting there holding this Palm device and thinking, okay, there's something cool about this. So I started, trying to write some apps for that. Got a Windows CE device a little bit later, and then just got busy. Fast forward a few years, working in a company, and they're getting ready to kick off a new mobile project. And I say, yeah, I can do that. And it's been 12 or 14 years now that whenever Android 2.1 came out. So it's been a while. And that's how I got into mobile.
So pivoting from that, we had a question that was submitted that what made you choose to stay in mobile once you were there compared to being a general software engineer? Madona, I thought you might want to kick off this question because you kind of came from that traditional generalist software engineer as a Java developer and then made the switch over here. Are there things that you like that keep you here over changing back?
Yeah. So one thing that I can say is that I found mobile to be very consistent. And then the improvements over years has made it even more interesting to build for mobile. For instance, Android, because I can say I've specifically now been a master in one, which is now Android building. And I can say that because when I looked at Java development, for instance, and building inventory systems, it was different because you just sit there. You don't have this particular unique, we used to call them GUI, graphic user interface before. So you don't have this unique GUI to build with. And what you always keep doing is coming back, sitting, no design. Like we didn't have the way the structure is right now. The structure that I'm talking about is the structure that we have for building, for instance, for Android, where we have UI, UX, which are pretty new jobs right now. And then now we have the new technologies that Google is pushing, and Google is working very hard to make sure that we get them and we use them. So I think that really made me stay, is the consistency and the support being very excellent. Because I figured that if actually when I was building and the fragments weren't added, I think I could have given up. But with the time, I realized, wait, we had fragments. No, we didn't have any fragments. Now we have fragments. We had SQLite database. Now we have Room database. So you can see like the work is being made not very easy, but very nice, such that building is fun. Like you sit there, and now I was just telling, I'm going to mention again because now I love Kotlin. I used to love Java, but now I love Kotlin. I mean, imagine just moving from Java and then you come to Kotlin and you see how building is so much fun. I mean, I'm passionate about Android for sure. But another question maybe I would like to ask myself, that I ask myself a lot, is, do I consider myself moving after some years? And what I normally see is not necessarily moving, but actually finding something else like machine learning and trying to integrate that now in mobile, so that I can be a master of, let's say, building the Android apps and also adding some knowledge on how I can integrate the stuff that I see right now, like TensorFlow with Android.
Patrick, Kim, is there anything that you want to build on with that?
I really love mobile because you've got this incredibly powerful capability that you keep with you all the time in a very personal way that extends, things that you can do and who you can reach. And it has never stopped impressing me what's possible. So, after however long, it's still easy to stay excited. And kind of reiterating, what was just said, there's always something changing that you keeping ongoing learning is fun. So.
Yeah, definitely. I came for the pay and I stayed for the innovation. So when I graduated, I was actually a single mom. So it was very at the forefront of my thought to find a position in development that paid well, that I did enjoy, that I could keep with. So that was a big driving factor in pursuing the mobile track. But also all of the innovation that mobile encompasses over the years. It's been amazing to see the change. iOS started with Objective-C, now we have Swift, and Swift is open source. So, we're on a lot of versions of Swift now. And it's just amazing the innovation that has come out of mobile. It also encompasses wearables. It's starting to encompass things in the car. AI, there's so many things that we get to play with because it's in our wheelhouse. So very much enjoy that.
Actually, on that, just to add on that, I feel like that's a very good point, because like currently I'm working with ARCO, something that I find also to be very unique, where we do like this augmented reality stuff. So mobile for the win for sure.
Are there things that you find are more challenging to become a mobile developer, or things that you find are easier to enter the mobile path compared to becoming a generalist software engineer? Again, this is an open question for the panel.
I think one of the challenges, just to go on that one, is I've learned that is keeping up with the tech. I find that most of us, not only in the mobile world, struggling with that, but I think we have things that change a lot, which is good. I think it's good, because it's good that if we can find an efficient way of making something better, let's make it. But it can be challenging sometimes if you're trying to, to run like a race. So like I realized the other day, I think I was just telling my team earlier before the panel started, that we were using live data. And now I think we're moving towards something different, which is pretty awesome. But it can get overwhelming sometimes. So I think that's the biggest challenge that I see in our world, that sometimes you mightn't even get time to understand one, and you've moved to another. Do I think we should stop maybe and concentrate on advancing the ones that we have? Maybe, but that's a pretty interesting topic that maybe the tech world needs to revisit and think, do we really need to be creating new ones, or the ones that we have, making them the best? So that's the challenge I can say I've seen on my path.
I think that probably finding a place to start. When I started Android, however long ago, there are activities. This is before fragments. You could read all the documentation on, here's everything to build in an hour. Now it's, okay, let's pull in data binding and let's pull in coroutines, and the barrier to entry has gotten higher. The tools have become more powerful, but it can be overwhelming. And even for me, it's not touching Android for a year and coming back, it's like, okay, the new way of doing things is coroutines. Let's learn it. So yeah, just kind of getting over that hurdle to use some of these tools.
Yeah, I'll also add, innovation is very much a double-edged sword. I love it. It's, like I said, it's one of the main reasons I'm still here. But it also gets outdated really fast. There's new keynotes every year from both Google and Apple. So it's difficult to keep up, especially if you have a family or like hobbies or a life. So it can also lead to imposter syndrome. Like I missed the last probably 2 WWDCs and I feel hard FOMO. When I was looking for a new job at the beginning of 2020, it was like one of the questions that everyone asked me, well, did you watch the videos? Did you, tune in the keynote? I'm like, I watched a half hour until my family threw a tantrum and kicked me off the TV. I think you have to be realistic with yourself. I think finding a job also that allows you to kind of learn as you go is very important. Having that environment where you can take a few days and research something new to you is a good lifeline to have in your work. As far as getting into mobile, I think over the last few years, Apple has done a really great job at building out tutorials. There's so many content creators out there. The Swift docs are amazing. Making it more accessible with playgrounds on the iPad is also another big win. Whereas before it was like the cost of even getting into iOS development was really hard. You had to buy a Mac, which at the low end is $500 for a Mac Mini, where you can get a PC for just a few hundred. So it was a hard, cost to put up front, but I think they're doing a better job about getting it in students' hands and helping people where they can. So I think I hit on all the points for that question.
Yeah, we're gonna jump in. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I actually wanted to add on what Patrick said. I think because Patrick is way above like my level, and I think he said a very he said a very important point, that I feel for young people trying to join, let's say Android or any other mobile field, difficulty is knowing what text to use in the beginning. Before actually it was very easy. I think I was able to build my app because it was so easy to build. But now you have to add coroutines. You have to use either Flow, you have to use either RX, you have to use Dagger, Hilt, or Coin. So there's a lot to learn for sure.
So I think there are kind of 2 important topics that we are going to take that as a jumping off point. So first, how do you keep up with the current trends and advances in mobile? Because everyone mentioned how fast it can move.
I can take this one, or at least start. So as I said, like I have a family and it's been very difficult, but what I do is when I am looking for teams, I do look for jobs that I can learn on the job. Learning is a big part of this job because things are moving so fast. So you have to have an environment that is inclusive to that. Also, like take on side projects if you can to learn the new thing. If your work allows, I guess, hackathons, that's a really great opportunity as well. The last hackathon we did, the iOS team, we did Swift UI just to learn more about it. And that was also important for our work because we learned during that hackathon that Swift UI is not necessarily ready for the enterprise development that we need. So while it's great in so many ways, it's just not ready for our consumption. So, I mean, learning goes both ways, right? You want to build up your code base. You want to make sure you're using the latest and greatest, not only for security purposes, but also like code maintenance and a whole slew of other things. So really just finding an environment that allows for that is huge.
I'll definitely reiterate the on-the-job learning and finding a place that gives you that flexibility. And especially if that place is willing to invest in the continuous learning and growth. Things do move so fast that expecting someone to come in, excuse me, come in and be an expert on state flow is just not reasonable. But having someone who is able to come in and be able to pick up the concepts and start applying them, that's definitely valuable.
I think that's a very good point. And I've seen that actually, like even where I work, where we have we do these 100 shares where if somebody learns something new, we come share with the team, explain how we're doing it, have this amazing doc where somebody can also reference. So I think learning is the first thing. And also just to say what Kim said, find a company that is willing to invest on your learning. And I think you'll be in a safe place.
So this theme also came up in some of the questions that were pre-submitted is how do you know if the company is going to invest in your learning? How do you know if it's the type of company that's going to foster growing their junior developers? So can you talk a little bit about what kind of things to look for to make sure that you're joining a company with that kind of culture?
Sure. So for me, I ask what the career path looks like. I ask if I'm coming in as a junior developer, what does it take to get to mid-level? Is there a definition? Is it number of years? What does that look like on this team? You can also tell by the technology they use if they're, using an outdated Xcode or Android Studio, whatever it may be, that may be a sign that they don't have a very good emphasis on keeping up with the latest and pulling in the latest stuff. I think those are the big ones. It's really a conversation, and there are flags if they don't foster for a learning environment. Also, a mentoring program is also a good one that you can ask about. Ask if there's a diverse set of skills on the team, if mentoring is something that they promote, and if that's something available to you if you're a junior or mid-level and want to learn from a senior or a mid-level. Or even just, I've mentored with and to Android developers also. It's not just one platform. Like mobile is very unique in that it's pretty easy to pick the other one up if you already know one. So there's concepts that bridge the gap, and that's very valuable.
I can say I'm in agreement with what Kim said, because I think as I was interviewing, that's one of the things I looked at. Like when I said, do you allow people to learn in the process? The team would say, yeah. And I think that really spoke language and spoke great value, because I was thinking, yeah, if they allow you to learn in the process, that's amazing. And that's what you want, because you'll come in today and find that they are using the new state flow. You didn't use it in your previous project. So you need time to learn that too and know how to use it in the right way. So that's a good point.
Ask what type of activities they do. Do they do book clubs? Do they do hackathons? Do they send people to conferences? Are they involved in the community with user groups? Whether it's GDG or some of the Swift ones. Just look for those activities, and that will probably give you a pretty good idea of the type of culture that they're going to harbor there.
So we're going to change gears a little bit, and the barrier to entry for mobile was mentioned a couple times when we were talking about how quickly mobile can move and how much you have to learn now. So a question that has come up is, what are your expectations for looking for a job as a junior mobile developer? And is there room for junior developers in mobile, or is this a saturated field? Is this something you would recommend at this point?
There is definitely still room.
Yeah. Yeah. There has been a thing for quite a few years now. So I ran a meetup from 2017 to 2019. And in that, I met so many juniors that were looking for jobs. I met so many companies that were looking for seniors. I met no seniors that were looking for jobs. So I threw a few LinkedIn fits, expressing that there are no seniors in this market. You have to build up juniors, you have to build up mid-levels. And there are companies out there that have programs in place and are working towards programs to make this happen. But it is also a huge problem in the market where it seems like, and I'm sure people who are looking for a job right now have seen this as well, where it's like junior, 8 years of experience. It's not in alignment with what we're seeing in the job market. So if you have the power in your teams, I would suggest talking to your team leaders and pushing for more junior roles. There's so much, there's a lot of room here for junior developers. But it's also up to us to make the companies realize that. I don't know how we got this out of whack, but it's something I've seen for the last few years. So we're working on it.
I think that's very true. That's a very big challenge that I've also seen, where it's very hard for juniors to get in. But one thing that I can say is that one of the things that I've noticed that makes you have, like, is it when you're going up a ladder, there's the steps you need to go up. And I feel like one of the hack that I've seen that works over time is, if you're coming in as a junior, one thing that you need to have or need to start doing is just pick a personal project, do one. Have a GitHub where you can push your work, where you can show the way you're building your app. Do it just constantly. I find, I mean, I hope it comes out the right way, but I find that when you spend time to teach yourself stuff, it really speaks volume, because you can have more than 10 projects that you've been working on. And then when somebody's looking through just your GitHub profile, they're like, wow, this person has really been doing something. Do those commits. It means you're taking your time to teach yourself something. So I feel like that's a nice way as a junior developer to kick yourself up, so that when you're applying for the jobs, it's not very hard for you to get in, because they can see, okay, you began somewhere, you're doing something, you've tried the tech. And even if you want to go an extra mile, launch an application too. It's not very hard. And then push it on the Google Play Store. Let it have even 2 downloads or 10 downloads. It's yours. So that is one advice I can actually advise, because I did stay out of the job market for a while when I was raising my kids, and then it came back as mid-level, which was okay with me, because I was like, look, I've been out, but I've not been very idle. I've been doing some of the work, like just building, budgeting, for instance, working through it all the time, pushing the code throughout. So it was awesome.
As soon as you push a project to Google Play, you're no longer a junior developer, you're a mobile developer.
Yeah.
So, and being able to apply to a job and say, hey, I released this app, is a differentiator.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that starts to touch on a question Claudia submitted is, in your experience, what is the best way to go from learning to your first job? So I don't know if Patrick, you want to say some of the things that you look for in that kind of being in that position of hiring, or Madona, you want to tell some of the things that you did to prepare for applying for your job just a few months ago?
Curiosity, seeing how, what people are tinkering with. If a resume comes in and there's a GitHub link on the profile, I always go through and spy to see what they're working on. And occasionally, you'll find something that is like, hey, okay, this person you can tell is going to be a great fit. Just kind of, you get a sense for what they value and just kind of, where they've been. So, and I think that shows curiosity.
Patrick just answered it. He's in the, he's in the hiring part. So are you, if you're listening?
But you also very recently went through the hiring process. You have a lot of good insights too.
That's true. I was just giving, that's very true. I was just giving like the fellow attendees just a tip, like, did you hear what he said? They look at the GitHub. So put those projects up there. So that's very true. So one thing is, it's just like branding yourself. Like, are you very serious in this industry? Do you want to get into the mobile? So one of the things that I can say I did is just, first of all, I had budgeting buddy. I do have my project that I do on GitHub. I do have an open source project. You can also have an open source project and invite your friends or people who want to learn with you. Maybe in campus, if you're in school, get them to join in, get them to contribute to that. Learn the Git flow, because when you contribute with other people, you will learn how to resolve the conflict, like solve some of the problems that arrive when you're working together with a team of maybe, let's say, 4 people. Because Git is also very important to learn when you're becoming, like, for instance, a software engineer. So the other thing that I would like to say also is when you're applying for jobs, look at the technologies they're looking for or the things they're highlighting. Do you really think you qualify for those ones? If you feel like you don't qualify, it doesn't mean don't apply. Go back in your resume on your drawing board and look, what technologies do they want? Okay, they're saying they want Room for DV. Okay, they're saying they want coroutine, or they're saying they want RX. Okay, so they're saying they want Coin or Dagger. You go back. So what I did, for instance, myself is that the job I was applying to, I applied only to like 5 jobs and I got called by all of them actually. And then I got 2 offers and one I was told it didn't go through because of the COVID that happened. And then the other ones I got rejected. So it happens, which is okay. But first what I did is write down those bullet points. So they're looking for Coin, or this one's they want Dagger. This one's want RX, this one's want coroutine. And then I went back and sat and looked at my strength. Where is my strength at? And I realized I was good at Coin. And I realized I was good at, let's say, coroutines. I went back and did my resume very well and submitted. And I got called. And then when I was able, so when I had the interview date, I was able to talk through those technologies to the best of my understanding. And that's how I think I got the offers, because I was able to explain, because I had already learned them, understood the ins and outs. Like you flip it around, like you're reverse engineering the coin to just understand how it works. So being prepared, first of all, and also writing a project from start to finish, just write one. Take that leap of faith. And also something else that I like just advising other people to do is, just because somebody did a budgeting app, it doesn't mean I can't write mine. I can write another one, just differently done with my own set of UI and stuff. And that will help me learn, so the way Budgeting Buddy helped me was, it helped me learn how to structure the code. I wrote it in Java before I converted it to Kotlin, but it helped me learn how actually I would construct all these things, bring them together. How would I follow through a budget? How would I check when somebody spends on this? Like, it took me 1 year, but it was worth it for sure. And also to mention, I did Google a lot. Google helps a lot too, when you're stuck, because sometimes things weren't working, and then I would go and Google, why do I get this exception? Why do I get this error?
I definitely want to reemphasize what you've said about interviewing as a chance to do market research for how you can advertise your skills. It gives you a chance to see, here's the things that I'm really good at. Here's the things where I need to strengthen myself. And
So not to throw you on the spot, Patrick, but I wanted to come back to a question that got submitted of what do you think that companies should be doing to reduce the barrier of entry into the mobile space? Or Kim or Madona?
Trying to find ways to make sure that there is a mentorship program in place. So when people come in, they're going to be successful and can grow. Yeah, that's one of the areas where I'm trying to invest in our team.
Yes, I would agree mentorship. I would agree diversifying teams, not just in the ways we normally think, but in all of the ways. Skill levels included. Like I am currently on a team with 3 other senior engineers, and I'm pushing to hire a junior. We've had a few interns. Internships is also a great way to help. You're giving people experience that they can turn around and use to get into the workforce. But yeah, mentorships is a big one. Being inclusive in welcoming to a junior, mid-level, or an intern is also huge.
Madona, is there anything that you want to add before we jump to our next question?
Yeah, I feel like the team really said great points on that one. So I think that's a very good point that we need to make sure that we stay up to date.
So I lost my question. We mentioned a lot about GitHubs, and there's some things that people always bring up when it comes to junior developers, and it's having an active GitHub. And then also the question of how important are data structures and LeetCode and focusing on algorithms for mobile careers. Do you have any thoughts on that? If you need to prepare for that in most mobile interview processes?
Wow, I think I would lie if I said I got any interview that actually asked me to do any algorithm stuff in mobile, because I did. So all the companies I interviewed were big. Sorry, excuse me. I did an interview with BBVA Bank, and that was my first interview. And so the things the interview you on is more of the knowledge. Do you understand what's happening? What have you worked on? And what are you working on? And the other thing that they give you is you write a project. So that's the way I've seen Android work, where you write a project, where you're fetching data using the latest tech or the text you've used, and you write the test cases. Now, the presentation of what you've done, I think, is what matters. So the team is trying to understand, do you really have an idea of what you were writing, or did you just copy code from GitHub? So that's what I've seen with mobile. I've not experienced any kind of write this algorithm, you're being tested for let's say 45 minutes, or do this and that. No, that didn't happen. It was more of write this project, fetch this, display here, write some data, write some tests, and then you're told the pattern they want. Let's say, for instance, they want MVVM. So you have to follow that and test that and submit, and then be able to talk through it.
I do not like the interviews that ask algorithm questions because there are too many algorithms out there and you can look them up in a book.
Yes, I was going to say, I think it depends a lot on where you're applying also. Up until 2 days ago, I didn't even know what LeetCode was. So I consider that a win in my book. I don't like those tools for hiring. I know some companies do use them. Algorithms can show up in whiteboard interviews, and I think the majority of my interviews that I've had do align with what Madona was saying. It is generally project centric. Build a view controller that does this and this with a view. You may or may not write some tests, but really something to just gauge your skills. And those are good interviews, I would say. But again, depending on where you're applying, if you're applying to bigger companies that are present in the Valley or Seattle or other tech hub cities, they are going to be more prone to ask those questions. So just be prepared. One of the resources that was very beneficial to me was Cracking the Coding Interview. It is a huge book. Do not go through all of it. So one thing that I did was go through, and if I felt rusty on something, then I would review it, like not just algorithms, but like data structures, right? Or just skip right to the whiteboarding section. The way she breaks it down is very beneficial and helped me not panic when I get up to a whiteboard. But to say that you're not going to encounter those interviews, I think would be misleading. So just keep in mind where you're applying and what, you know, what their candidate pool looks like and what type of interview questions that region typically asks.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point you said, Kim. It's very important to note also that it also depends on the companies you're applying to. So for instance, maybe if you applied to Google, maybe they would ask you to write the algorithms for maybe the Android, but I'm not sure because I've not yet applied there. But other than that, I think where you apply to really matters. That's the point.
So switching gears again to try to cover all the topics that showed up on our questions. Talk a little bit about career growth in the mobile space. Do you feel that there's more career growth in mobile compared to other kinds of engineering, or is it comparable?
I'm going to piggyback on what Madona said earlier with being able to get into augmented reality and machine learning and Internet of Things. And I think that mobile is going to continue growing and growing, and that there's going to be new opportunities out there. So I don't see a career growth stopping and new opportunities. And there's always going to be new fun stuff to work on.
I think to support Patrick on that topic is, I think mobile is not going anywhere soon, because I don't think we have any new invention that's going to replace mobile. And mobile, many people still keep using their mobile phones because we need to communicate, we need to call other people. So that's a very good point to say that the new techs we're using right now, like Air, Core, and then add some machine learning or something else going to come up. So it is indeed a great place to be. I mean, I love mobile.
So in the mobile space, in your opinion, what does junior level versus mid-level versus senior level look like? And what does it take to get between those different levels? Kim, if you want to start us off on this one.
Sure. As a junior developer, I would expect somebody to know how to build out a view controller, or I don't know what the Android equivalent is, Fragment. But know how to build one out, know how to, connect the user interface, have a text field, enter some text, have a button that might show that text or display it or change it. Some basic things that would allow you to just make an app. I don't expect you to know how to do an API request off the top of your head. I don't even know how to do an API request off the top of my head. But yes, user interface, things like that. Mid-level, I would expect that you're able to figure out most things on your own. That, if you do need some direction, it's going to be like a pair programming session where, we're all in the weeds, kind of. I expect a mid-level to know what to Google to get you like 80% there. If you need some direction, then no big deal. Again, I don't think I want anyone to know how to do an API request off the top of your head, but you should be able to build out most things like on your own, have a good sense of direction. As a senior gets interesting because we don't have architects in the mobile space typically. And we also don't have what other engineers have, which is the CI/CD developers, continuous integration development, I think is what the D stands for. So senior kind of also encapsulates that. You encapsulate on the build machines, Jenkins, Travis, Circle CI, all of those things. So as a senior level, I think you need to really just know how to figure things out. You're not expected to know everything anywhere, but you need to understand like kind of the generic flow of things so that it's easier for you to figure out. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that answer.
I will piggyback on all of that and expand out. We do consulting, and I would say for the senior level, there's two things I'm looking for. One is, can they take a project from start to finish, mostly, without, needing a lot of outside help. And the second one is, are they able to create more senior developers? Are they able to work with more of our entry level and mid-level developers and help raise them up? That's what I'm really looking for out of my senior developers.
So in 2020 and now 2021 fashion, how do you maintain productivity while working from home in a pandemic? Madona, do you want to get started?
Well, I think it's not easy. It's not been easy because I have two kids, and sometimes I have to hide. I mean, I have 3 offices in my house. Now I have this here where I have a monitor and everything set up. I have another one in the sitting room and I have another one in a different room. So it's not been easy, I can say, and I salute all moms out there because you have to run, like I have to help my kids with the Zoom school and then I have to come finish my work. So one of the things that I can say is I kind of like feel like is that the company you're working with based on how they're responding to this time. Because like my company, they've given us, we have unlimited PTOs. We can like request to come in like in the afternoon or come late. I mean, I think just having a place that understands that we're actually in a pandemic is really helping. And the other thing is that, I mean, I'm just trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to survive. But I think the point is that it's not been easy because I just wish my kids, I'll take them to school, drop them to school, and come and concentrate with my work. But sometimes I have to work late at night just to make sure that I'm done. So extra hours.
That's pretty much the same story that I have. The week right after the holidays, our school went into remote learning. So, while I've got 2 weeks of client emails all backed up, after trying to take some time off, I'm also trying to take care of those and get kids on Zoom, and dealing with screaming in the background. And, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We have to give each other just a little bit of slack, and we're all doing the best we can.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to start with be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break because we all need it. We're all twitching when we turn off the screens. But yeah, it's been hard. There was a moment I thought I was just gonna have to leave my job and be a stay-at-home mom with my toddler because she was so much. Luckily, daycare's opened up. So she's in daycare. My oldest is on Zoom all day. So it's been very interesting. Having a schedule has been a saving grace. I think I would recommend that whether you have kids or not. But having something to have your day around, right? Get up, eat breakfast, shower like you would a normal job. That has given myself some normalcy. And then when I sit at my desk, it's work time, right? And I'm able to focus and just get stuff done. So that has really helped. But yeah, if you have kids at home, take lots of breaks. They need it too. And we'll all get through this together. It'll be okay.
We have a question in the chat from Karina. What motivates you to develop mobile apps?
I really like the user experience. I really like the front end, figuring out, okay, how can I make this more user friendly? How can I make this so that maybe it's one less tab or one less screen, or it's almost like a puzzle. So I really enjoy that aspect. I really enjoy the innovation that keeps coming, which has been mentioned a few times, so I won't rehash that. But yeah, I think just thinking about the end user is what keeps me going.
The magic, everything that this can do. If you asked me 25 years ago, hey, this is my alarm clock and my radio, and this was even before MP3s, and just like everything else that gets all shoved into something that fits in my pocket, and everything else that it keeps doing. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I think to add on what the team has said is that, like I said before, inventory system, boring, mobile apps, fun. Because you're able to build this something that actually people love, because they're saying, wow, I love how it looks. Wow, I love the feel. Wow, I love how this one, the animation goes. So that's for sure.
I just wanted to throw my answer out also, and it's that I get paid. So that's an okay answer too. So I just wanted to wrap up with one final question. I know that we're coming up on time, and kind of talk about what you're most excited to learn about in mobile in 2021. So what is your one goal or one thing that you'd like to learn about this year? Everyone has their thinking face on. I threw you all on the spot.
That's tough. We haven't even gotten keynotes yet. Not a fair question. I will say that yesterday and today, well, not yesterday. Today seems like it's been that long. Okay, so today I've been focused on learning Vapor, which is server-side Swift. So a problem came up that we are having needing a mock server, and we already have like JSON files built out for our unit tests. So I thought, how cool would it be to just encapsulate this within the Xcode project and have our UI tests use a mock server that was using the same files. So I've been able to play in Vapor, which has been kind of breaking my brain because I started out in mobile, so I don't have like a web background or anything to rely on, but it's been really fun. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about anything that comes out of the iOS world. So looking forward to learning whatever that is also.
So over the last few years, we've shipped a few applications in Flutter that are absolutely awesome, and I can't endorse Flutter enough. It's really cool, but there's still a whole lot of stuff underneath the covers that I want to learn more about the mechanics of why it works so well, and making sure that we can harness it for all it's worth. So that's on my list for this year.
So I think for me is early, I think last year, I joined an augmented reality company. And that's a field that I had not looked into, but I was really excited that I got a chance to join the team. And so I'm looking into learning more augmented reality stuff because it's cool. Because I implemented something that I thought to me was very cool, like take pictures from someone's phone when they're miles away. That's awesome. So I'm looking forward to learning that more and understanding the ins and outs of it, especially now that Google is pushing Unity, yet people don't want to use Unity because it's good when you have your own standalone. So looking forward to learning that, or maybe open sourcing it too.
And that is going to wrap up our panel. Thank you so much for being here, Kim, Patrick, Madona. And thank you for everyone who joined us. I know Kim and Madona are in the mobile Slack, so if you have a burning question that we didn't have time to get to, I had a very long list of questions to get to in a very short amount of time. I am sure they would be happy to answer those privately. And then I can also get you in touch with Patrick. Again, we have another event on Monday for accessibility and mobile, so I hope to see you all there. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sierra.